Hi everyone, we are back on all things COVID again because there has been a further rule change in relation to the self-isolation period. So from the 17th of January, the self-isolation period for vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals potentially reduces down to 5 days. Now that's providing 2 tests are taken, one on day 5, one on day 6, at least 24 hours apart, which are negative, and providing that the individual doesn't have a high temperature anymore. If those tests are positive, the individual must continue to self-isolate potentially until day 10 or until 2 negative tests taken 24 hours apart are taken, whichever is earlier. If the individual can leave self-isolation, the guidance is still to wear a face covering, limit contact with other people in crowded or poorly ventilated areas, work from home if they can, and minimise contact with anybody at risk of severe illness if infected with COVID-19. Unvaccinated employees who are required to self-isolate because they are a household contact and not because they've contracted COVID themselves will still need to isolate for the full 10 days. And vaccinated employees of household contacts who have tested positive but the individual hasn't themselves are still advised to take lateral flow tests for 7 days. That covers off the most recent changes. The other question we've been asked a lot over the past week is, can I reduce sick pay entitlement for unvaccinated individuals who have to self-isolate? And the first area to look at is the contract of employment. So if an employee, whether vaccinated or not, has an entitlement to contractual sick pay without limitation or discretion, if they are incapacitated, so unable to work because they are sick themselves, the business must comply with the requirement to pay sick pay, otherwise you would be at risk of a breach of contract claim. If the individual is isolating not because they themselves are incapacitated, but for example, they are unvaccinated as a household contact, it's likely that the contractual sick pay entitlement won't kick in because the employee is not sick, is not incapacitated by reason of sickness. So that should give you some discretion in terms of what to pay the employee in those circumstances. Now, if there is no company sick pay entitlement within the contract, but as a business during COVID-19 we decided to enhance our provision for employees, it is within your gift to reduce that entitlement for unvaccinated employees with one big caveat. So because we've exercised discretion to pay enhanced pay today, we're exercising discretion in a different way. The justification perhaps is that unvaccinated employees may have a much higher chance of having to self-isolate, partly because of contracting the virus, partly because of the length of any illness, and partly as well because of the rules around household isolation for unvaccinated individuals compared to vaccinated. So we may well now decide to take a different stance, and that's what a number of larger employers reported in the media have done. Now, that is not discrimination in itself for the purposes of the Equality Act, because vaccination status is not a protected characteristic. The big caveat, as I mentioned earlier, is that we need to be aware of potentially discriminatory treatment, particularly on the grounds of disability. So if an employee has a particular medical reason linked to a physical impairment that means they cannot be vaccinated, to treat them less favourably or to not make the adjustment to maintain full pay in isolation periods could be discrimination. So that would require us, if we're going to implement this policy, to learn more about an employee's vaccination status and the reasons behind this. And if we do have a challenge from the employee, to respond knowing the full story and taking account of that risk on all occasions. Hopefully this has been of use for you. If you need any further advice, please do visit the website chadwicklawrence.co.uk or email employmenthub@chadlaw.co.uk. Thank you.